Dubai, a city built on sand and ambition, where luxury isn't just a lifestyle, it's the oxygen everyone breathes. The Burj Khalifa pierces the heavens like a monument to human ingenuity, while below, the desert winds carry whispers of fortunes made and broken daily. Among the jewels in Dubai's crown stands the Palmyra Grand Hotel, 5 stars that shimmer with promise for those who can afford its steep rates. Marble floors polished to mirror shine, crystal chandeliers that cast fractured rainbows across the lobby. Staff trained to anticipate every need before it's even formed in a guest's mind. But beneath this pristine surface lies a different reality, one where power, privilege, and desperation collide, where invisible people serve the visible elite, where some rooms hold secrets so dark that no amount of luxury can disguise them. Tonight, we explore how the Palmera Grand Hotel became the scene of one of Dubai's most shocking crimes. A story of forbidden romance, surveillance, betrayal, and ultimately murder. Lena was different from the rest of us. Quieter, always reading books during breaks. She didn't gossip or complain like everyone else. Very professional, always on time. Guests loved her because she remembered their names, their preferences. The management noticed this. Lena Reyes arrived in Dubai in January 2022, one of thousands of Filipino workers who leave their homeland each year seeking opportunity abroad. The oldest of 4 children from Cebu City, Lena grew up watching her parents struggle to make ends meet. Her father, a construction worker with inconsistent employment. Her mother, taking in laundry and selling homemade food to neighbors. Lena's academic excellence earned her a partial scholarship to study hospitality management, but family finances remained tight. Lena was always the responsible one, her sister Maria remembers. She would skip meals to make sure we had enough. When she got the Dubai offer, we were so proud but also scared. It was so far away. The offer seemed like a dream. 5 times her potential salary in the Philippines, staff accommodation included, and employment at one of the world's most prestigious hotels. For a 26-year-old from a struggling family, it represented not just personal opportunity, but salvation for her loved ones back home. We see this pattern repeatedly across Southeast Asia, explains Dr. Lena Reyes, migration specialist. Young women especially become the financial lifelines for entire extended families. The pressure is immense. Failure is not an option when 8 or 10 people depend on your remittances. What Lena couldn't have known was that she was stepping into an environment where her vulnerability would make her the perfect target. The Palmera Grand, like most luxury hotels in the Gulf states, operates on a rigid caste system disguised as corporate structure. At the top, owners and executives, predominantly Emirati or Western expatriates, who rarely interact with day-to-day operations but expect perfection in every detail. The middle tier, department managers and supervisors, largely from India, Lebanon, and other middle-income countries. Educated professionals who serve as the bridge between ownership and staff. And at the bottom, the service workers, housekeepers, waitstaff, receptionists, and maintenance crews, predominantly Filipino, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and other nationalities from low-income regions. Often highly qualified in their home countries, but relegated to service roles abroad. The hierarchy isn't just about job titles, reveals a former HR manager who requested anonymity. It's reinforced in 1,000 subtle ways. Separate dining areas for different staff levels, different quality uniforms, different rules about when you can speak to guests directly. Everyone knows their place. This structure is reinforced by the kafala system, a sponsorship arrangement that ties workers' legal status directly to their employers. Visa, housing, even the ability to open a bank account, all controlled by the company. Workers can't simply quit if they face harassment or mistreatment, explains a Human Rights Watch representative. Their options are essentially endure it or go home in disgrace. Many have taken out substantial loans to secure these positions. Going home empty-handed isn't an option. For Lena, the stakes were particularly high. Within her first 3 months, she was sending home 70% of her salary. Her brother's college tuition, her father's medical treatments, home repairs after a typhoon. The family quickly grew dependent on her income, creating a trap of responsibility she couldn't escape. This was the reality beneath the luxury. An army of vulnerable workers, thousands of miles from home, legally bound to employers who held absolute power over their futures. In this context, every smile became a survival strategy. Every task completed perfectly was not just professional pride but self-preservation. Look at us, working in the fanciest hotel, sleeping in a room smaller than their bathrooms. At least we have air conditioning. Always the optimist. That's why I like you. Ivy Santos arrived at the Palmyra Grand 6 months before Lena. Also Filipino, but from Manila's more cosmopolitan circles. More outgoing, more ambitious, more willing to bend rules to get ahead. When Lena was assigned as her roommate in staff housing, they formed an immediate bond despite their differences. Those two were inseparable at first, recalls a former co-worker. Ivy showed Lena all the tricks, which managers to avoid, where to find free food, how to get better shifts. Ivy could make anyone laugh, even on the worst days. Their late-night conversations in their shared room became a sanctuary from the pressures of their working lives. I'm not going to be here forever. 2 years maximum. Then I'll have enough saved to open my own business back home. Do you really think that's possible? Of course. We're not meant to be invisible forever, Lena. Their playful dynamic took a fateful turn 3 months into Lena's employment. During a particularly slow afternoon shift, Ravi Kapoor, the hotel's 42-year-old Indian manager, crossed the lobby, greeting staff with his characteristic charisma. Ivy nudged Lena and whispered something that made them both giggle. Remembers a former staff member who witnessed the interaction. Then Ivy said loud enough that several of us heard, "I bet I could make him notice me before you could." Lena blushed and said it was inappropriate. But Ivy pushed, "Whoever wins gets to sleep in tomorrow, while the other covers both morning shifts." It was just a joke. Or at least it was supposed to be. Ravi Kapoor represented everything the Palmera Grand wanted to project: sophistication, efficiency, and the perfect balance of Eastern hospitality and Western business acumen. Born to an upper-middle-class family in Mumbai and educated in Switzerland, Ravi had worked his way through prestigious hotel chains across Europe and Asia before landing the coveted position in Dubai. The power differential in this scenario cannot be overstated, notes Dr. Samuel Wong, workplace psychology specialist. A hotel manager in this context isn't just a boss, he's essentially a feudal lord. He controls not just employment but housing, legal status, even whether someone can change jobs within the country. Add cultural factors where managers are treated with extreme deference, and you have a perfect environment for exploitation. What no one knew at the time was that Ravi had a history of brief relationships with female staff at previous hotels, relationships that invariably ended with the woman being transferred or leaving quietly. The Palmera Grand, with its culture of discretion and reputation management, provided the perfect environment for this pattern to continue. Room 713 was officially listed as out of commission due to plumbing issues, a common designation in luxury hotels for rooms undergoing maintenance or special projects. It's normal to have a few rooms offline, explains a former maintenance worker. Sometimes it's legitimate repairs. Sometimes it's for VIPs who don't want their stay recorded officially. Sometimes management just wants flexibility in the inventory. No one questions it. The first private interaction between Ravi and Lena came unexpectedly during a night shift. The lobby was empty except for a security guard dozing in the corner. Ravi appeared with 2 cups of coffee. He said he noticed I was always the first to arrive and last to leave. Reads an entry from what investigators believe was Lena's diary. That dedication should be rewarded. The coffee was from the executive lounge. Guests pay 30 dirhams per cup. He sat with me for 20 minutes, asking about my family, my dreams. No manager had ever shown interest in me as a person before. I told Ivy it was nothing, but I couldn't stop smiling for hours afterward. What followed was a carefully orchestrated courtship. Small gestures that would seem innocent to observers but carried unmistakable weight. Ravi would appear during Lena's shifts with trivial questions that only she could answer. He'd mention books they had both read. He'd offer career advice that turned into personal conversations. This is textbook grooming behavior, explains Dr. Wong. He's establishing a special relationship, one that feels unique and personal. He's identifying her vulnerabilities, her ambition, her isolation, her desire for recognition, and positioning himself as the solution to all those needs. 3 weeks after their first coffee, Ravi asked Lena to deliver some documents to room 713. The official reason: a privacy-conscious VIP guest needed information about extended stay options. The reality: the room was empty, and Ravi was waiting. "I knew it was wrong," reads another diary entry. "He's married. He's my boss. But he made me feel like I finally mattered. He said his marriage was just for appearances now. That his wife hadn't truly seen him in years. That something about me made him feel alive again. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him." The relationship escalated quickly. Room 713 became their private sanctuary. Ravi arranged Lena's schedule to create opportunities for meetings. He gave her small gifts: a silver bracelet, expensive chocolates, a silk scarf, always items she could explain away or hide from others. "He made me promise not to tell anyone," her diary continues, "said people wouldn't understand, that jealousy would destroy what we have, that my job could be at risk if others found out. I haven't even told Ivy. For the first time in my life, I have something that's just mine, something no one can take from me." The change in Lena didn't go unnoticed, especially by Ivy. The roommates who once shared everything were now separated by secrets. "We all saw the difference," remembers a housekeeping staff member. Lena started wearing subtle makeup. She bought new clothes even though she sent most of her money home. She was distracted during shifts, checking her phone constantly. Ivy was the first to connect the dots. Text messages recovered from Lena's phone show the growing tension. "Ivy, where are you? You disappeared after your shift again." Lena: "Had to help with inventory. Sorry, we'll be late." Ivy: "This is the 3rd time this week. They don't do inventory at midnight." Lena: "Just working extra hours. Need the money." Ivy: "Stop lying to me. I'm not stupid." Jealousy in close female friendships can be particularly intense, explains Dr. Alicia Fernandez, a psychologist specializing in workplace dynamics. There's often a complex interplay of betrayal, competition, and hurt pride. In this case, we have the added dimension of their mutual dependence. These women relied on each other for emotional support in an isolating environment. The confrontation, when it finally came, was devastating for both women. Multiple staff members overheard the argument in their shared room one night in April 2022. "You think you're special? You think he sees you as anything but temporary entertainment?" Ivy's voice, loud enough for neighbors to hear. "He does this everywhere he goes. You're just the latest stupid girl who fell for it. You don't know anything about it," Lena responded, uncharacteristically defiant. "You're just jealous because he chose me instead of you." "Chose you? Like you're equals? Wake up, Lena. You're a receptionist from Cebu with a fake designer bag. He's married to a woman whose family owns half this hotel. You're just a temp thing. When he's done with you, he'll throw you away. And I won't be here to pick up the pieces." Witnesses reported hearing crying after the argument, though it wasn't clear which woman was in tears. What was clear was that a fundamental trust had been broken. The once inseparable friends now barely spoke to each other. It wasn't just that Ivy felt betrayed, notes Dr. Fernandez. She genuinely feared for Lena, but her approach, confrontation and humiliation, only pushed Lena further into Ravi's influence. It created exactly the isolation that would make Lena even more dependent on the relationship. By early summer 2022, the transformation was complete. Lena and Ivy maintained a cold politeness in public but avoided each other whenever possible. Lena spent as little time as possible in their shared room, finding excuses to work late or volunteering for early shifts. And Ravi, watching from his position of power, saw Lena's increasing isolation not as a warning sign but as an opportunity. What none of them realized was that their private drama wasn't private at all. Unknown eyes were watching. Unknown ears were listening. And room 713, their supposed sanctuary, was about to become the epicenter of a nightmare none of them could have imagined. Luxury hotels are paradoxes of privacy and surveillance. Behind the promise of discretion lies an intricate web of security cameras, key card tracking systems, and vigilant staff, all designed to protect both guests and the establishment's reputation. Five-star hotels are some of the most monitored environments on Earth, explains Thomas Reeves, former security director for a global hotel chain. Public areas typically have complete coverage: lobbies, corridors, elevators, restaurants. Guest room doors record every entry and exit. But inside the rooms themselves, that's the sacred space. No cameras, no monitoring. It's the one true blind spot. This sacred boundary is precisely what makes hotels attractive targets for a particular type of criminal, one who exploits the presumption of privacy to violate it completely. At the Palmyra Grand, the security infrastructure was state-of-the-art. Over 200 visible cameras throughout public areas, biometric access for sensitive locations, and a 24/7 security team monitoring everything from a basement control room. But even this sophisticated system had vulnerabilities. Certain rooms were deliberately kept off the main security grid. VIP suites, rooms used by government officials or celebrities, these had separate systems, sometimes controlled directly by the guest security team. Room 713 was one of these special cases. It existed in what Staf called a dark zone, visible on floor plans but invisible to regular monitoring. This invisibility made room 713 perfect for Ravi and Lena's clandestine meetings. But it also made it the ideal target for someone with more sinister intentions. The unauthorized surveillance system discovered in room 713 was sophisticated but not unprecedented. 3 tiny cameras, each smaller than a shirt button, had been embedded in strategic locations. One in the smoke detector above the bed, one in the bathroom vent, and one in the desk lamp. All 3 fed into a wireless transmitter hidden in the ventilation duct, recording to an external server rather than on-site storage. Hotel records revealed the likely culprit, Markus Brenner, a German businessman who had stayed in room 713 for 3 nights in early 2022, before it was taken offline for Ravi's use. Brenner, investigators later discovered, had a pattern of similar behavior at hotels across Europe and Asia. This type of voyeurism is about more than sexual gratification. It's about power and control. These individuals are often successful, intelligent people who become addicted to the godlike feeling of observing others who don't know they're being watched. The risk of discovery adds to the thrill. Brenner likely never imagined his cameras would capture not just intimate encounters, but evidence that would later become central to a murder investigation. Rashid Al-Farsi wasn't supposed to be in the security control room that night. As a 24-year-old housekeeping supervisor, his duties rarely brought him to the basement level. But a missing master key needed tracking, and the regular security staff was dealing with an incident in the hotel restaurant. Rashid was smart, ambitious, always finding ways to learn different hotel systems, always trying to impress management. He wanted to climb the ladder, escape the limitations placed on staff from certain countries. Born in Pakistan but raised in the UAE, Rashid occupied an uncomfortable middle ground in the hotel hierarchy. His fluent Arabic and English earned him a supervisory position, but his passport still marked him as an outsider. His financial pressures were significant. A sister needing medical treatment back home, parents dependent on his income. What happened that night was pure chance. Rashid accessed the security system looking for keycard logs. Instead, he stumbled upon an anomaly, data traffic from a room supposedly under maintenance. Curiosity led him to access the feed. What Rashid saw stunned him. Crystal clear footage of his hotel manager engaged in an intimate encounter with a Filipino receptionist. More shocking still, the timestamp showed it wasn't a one-time incident. The cameras had captured multiple meetings over weeks. In that moment, Rashid faced a critical decision. Report the unauthorized surveillance, doing the right thing but potentially creating problems for himself as someone who accessed systems beyond his clearance. Or recognize the value of what he'd found. Rashid chose the latter. He copied the footage to a personal device before logging out of the system. Initially, he shared it with only 2 trusted colleagues, Khalid from maintenance and Arjun from food service. Their shocked reaction confirmed what Rashid already knew. He held career-destroying information about a powerful man. Blackmail represents a psychological reversal. Suddenly, the powerless gain power. Someone who has spent years being invisible can make himself seen and feared. It's intoxicating, especially for those who felt systematically diminished. The three men deliberated for days before making their move. They created anonymous email accounts, selected particularly damning clips, and prepared their approach. What began as a potential one-time payoff soon evolved into something more systematic and cruel. The first message arrived on Lena's phone on a Tuesday morning in June 2022. "We see you in room 713. What would your family think? 5,000 dirhams keeps it private. Instructions to follow." Attached was a still image, grainy but unmistakable, of Lena entering the room with Ravi close behind. Lena initially dismissed it as a cruel prank, possibly from Ivy. The second message arrived that evening. Another image, this one leaving no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The psychological impact of such threats is devastating. Beyond the immediate fear, there's the shame, the violation of privacy, the sudden realization that intimate moments have been observed by unknown parties. For someone from a conservative culture, where family reputation is paramount, the threat of exposure can feel worse than physical danger. More messages followed. The anonymous blackmailers showed strategic patience, escalating gradually, demonstrating the extent of their knowledge before making specific financial demands. Voice-distorted phone calls. Photos of Lena with Ravi slipped into her work locker. Detailed knowledge of their meeting times and conversations. The effect on Lena was immediate and visible. Co-workers noted her increasing anxiety, jumping at sudden sounds, checking her phone obsessively, making uncharacteristic errors in her work. She stopped eating in the staff cafeteria. She'd scan every room before entering. During shifts, her hands would shake whenever her phone buzzed. Several guests complained that she seemed distracted. It was like watching someone disintegrate day by day. Hotel security footage from this period shows Lena constantly looking over her shoulder, avoiding certain corridors, and taking unusual routes through the hotel. Attempts to evade watchers who seemed to be everywhere. When Lena finally gathered the courage to tell Ravi about the blackmail, his reaction was initially everything she hoped for. In the privacy of his office, he held her hands, promised to protect her, insisted they would find the culprits together. This is typical grooming behavior. The initial response appears supportive, creating relief and deeper trust. It's only later that the manipulation reveals itself. Within days, Ravi's attitude underwent a subtle transformation. Text messages between them show the shift. "Ravi, did you tell anyone else about us before these messages started?" Lena, "No, never. You asked me not to." Ravi, "Are you sure? Not even Ivy? Not even hints?" Lena, "I swear. I've been so careful." Ravi, "Someone new to watchroom 713. How did they know?" This is textbook Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. He's subtly shifting blame to Lena, suggesting she must have done something to cause this situation. Rather than acknowledging his greater responsibility as the married superior in a position of power, he positions himself as the victim of her carelessness. As the blackmail demands intensified, Ravi became increasingly distant. Their meetings in room 713 grew less frequent. His messages became shorter, more practical, less affectionate. When they did meet, he focused on containment rather than comfort. "You understand we can't pay them," he told her during one recorded conversation. "It would never end. We need to deny everything if it gets out. Your word against theirs. But the photos could be manipulated. Deny everything. That's the only way through this." The timeline of Ravi's communications shows him systematically creating distance while maintaining just enough connection to ensure Lena's continued silence and compliance. By August 2022, the blackmailers changed tactics. Having extracted only small sums from Lena, all she could afford from her modest salary, they began circulating carefully cropped images to selected hotel staff. Not explicit enough to be pornographic, but clear enough to identify the participants and the nature of their relationship. The whispers started in housekeeping first, then food service, then front desk. People would go quiet when Lena entered a room. Some would smirk. Others looked disgusted. No one said anything directly. That would be too risky in a workplace with strict harassment policies. But everyone knew. This form of workplace isolation, what experts call mobbing, can be more psychologically damaging than direct confrontation. When everyone knows your secret but no one acknowledges it openly, you exist in a state of perpetual anxiety. You can't defend yourself against unspoken accusations. You can't address what no one will say to your face. The isolation becomes complete. You're symbolically expelled from the social group while still physically present. Lena made desperate attempts to address the situation. Hotel records show she requested a meeting with human resources, only to have her concerns dismissed as personal matters outside their purview. When she tried to file a formal harassment complaint, the HR manager, a close associate of Ravi's, suggested she was overreacting to workplace stress and recommended she take vacation time instead. In her final diary entry before the events that would turn the hotel upside down, Lena wrote, "I can't see any way out. Everyone looks at me like I'm nothing now. Ravi barely responds to my messages. The demands keep coming. I send money, but they want more. I can't tell my family. I can't go home in disgrace. Sometimes I think about the balconies on the higher floors. How peaceful it would be to just step off and let everything go quiet." What Lena couldn't know was that the worst was yet to come. The quiet humiliation and isolation were merely preludes to a more sophisticated form of destruction. One orchestrated not by opportunistic blackmailers, but by someone with far more to lose and resources to make others suffer. Anita Kapoor's Instagram account portrayed the perfect life of a successful hotelier's wife. Charity galas in designer gowns. Intimate dinners with Dubai's elite. Global travels to source artwork and furnishings for the Palmyra Grand. Her LinkedIn profile was equally impressive. MBA from Cornell, early career at Four Seasons, strategic advisor to luxury hotel developments across 3 continents. What these carefully curated images didn't show was the ruthless intelligence behind the polished exterior. While Ravi served as the public face of the Palmera Grand, property records revealed that Anita was actually the majority owner through a family investment trust. The hotel had been her father's wedding gift to the couple, a detail conspicuously absent from Ravi's professional biography. Mrs. Kapoor wasn't just the boss's wife, remembers a former assistant manager. She was the boss. Everyone who mattered knew it. Ravi made day-to-day decisions, but major changes, financial approvals, key hires, all required her sign-off. Staf described a woman who commanded respect without raising her voice. She remembered names, noticed details, asked thoughtful questions about family members mentioned months earlier. But beneath the warmth lay something that made even senior staff nervous. Always polite but somehow terrifying is how one department head described her. She could smile while dismantling someone's professional reputation. "I once saw her compliment a manager's tie while signing the paperwork for his termination." Most intriguing was Anita's apparent blindness to her husband's indiscretions. Ravi's attraction to female staff was an open secret among management. Yet Anita never addressed it publicly or seemed troubled by the whispers. "She never seemed to notice the affairs," recalled a longtime executive assistant. But maybe that was the scariest part. Nothing happened in that hotel without Mrs. Kapoor knowing. Nothing. So her silence felt deliberate somehow, like she was allowing it for reasons of her own. Those reasons would become devastatingly clear to Lena Reyes in September 2022. The invitation arrived at the staff housing reception desk in a cream envelope with the hotel's gold-embossed logo. Inside, heavy cardstock announced, "The Palmera Grand Hotel Women in Hospitality Network cordially invites Lena Reyes to attend our quarterly leadership tea, hosted by Anita Kapoor. Grand Terrace, September 15th, 4 p.m. Lena stared at it in confusion. The Women in Hospitality Network was an exclusive group of female executives and managers, not entry-level staff like her. More puzzling was the handwritten note at the bottom in elegant script. "Looking forward to meeting you personally. AK, you have to go," insisted her colleague Maria. This could be your chance to move up. Maybe someone recommended you. But Lena knew better. By September, the whispering campaign against her was in full force. Her relationship with Ravi had become strained and distant. The blackmail demands continued. Now, mysteriously, the hotel owner's wife wanted to meet her. The grand terrace on the 30th floor was transformed for the occasion. Delicate orchid arrangements on linen-covered tables. Silver tea services attended by white-gloved waiters. 20 of the most influential women in Dubai's hospitality industry engaged in polite conversation, general managers, ownership representatives, government tourism officials. Lena arrived in her best dress, a modest navy blue sheath purchased during better days. She felt painfully out of place among women wearing casual wealth, simple dresses that cost more than her monthly salary, accessories selected for subtlety rather than flash. Anita Kapoor spotted her immediately. At 41, she possessed the kind of beauty that improves with age, poised, confident, immaculately maintained. She crossed the terrace with practiced grace, taking Lena's hands in hers. "Ms. Reyes, I'm delighted you could join us. I've heard such interesting things about you." The conversation that followed was a masterclass in psychological warfare disguised as mentorship. Anita guided Lena to a private table overlooking the Dubai skyline. For 20 minutes, she asked thoughtful questions about Lena's education, her family, her professional aspirations. She offered connections who might help advance Lena's career. She seemed genuinely interested in this junior employee's development. Then, as a waiter poured a second cup of tea, Anita's tone shifted imperceptibly. "I understand you've been helping my husband with some special projects." Lena nearly dropped her cup. I'm not sure what you mean, Mrs. Kapoor." Anita smiled. "No need for pretense. Ravi often needs assistance with matters he prefers to keep private. Room 713, for instance." Lena felt the blood drain from her face as Anita continued. "You know, Ravi's favorite wine isn't red. He only drinks it with girls who don't know him." The message was unmistakable. This wasn't a random observation about wine preferences. This was Anita telling Lena she knew everything, intimate details that could only come from surveillance footage of their private moments. "I'm not," Lena began, but Anita cut her off with a gentle hand on her arm. "Careers in luxury hospitality are fragile things, aren't they? One misstep can follow you forever. But we all make mistakes, especially when we're young. The question is what we do afterward." As Anita stood to greet another guest, she left Lena with a final statement disguised as career advice. "Remember, in this industry, it's not just about the connections you make. It's about the ones you choose to break." 3 days after the tea, Ivy Santos was waiting in their shared room when Lena returned from her shift. The usual cold silence between them was replaced by something worse, an expression of pity mixed with satisfaction. "We need to talk," Ivy said. "About Anita Kapoor." What followed was a confession that shattered the last remnants of Lena's world. Ivy revealed that Anita had approached her months earlier, shortly after discovering Ravi and Lena's affair. "She knew everything from the beginning," Ivy explained. "The surveillance footage, the blackmailers, all of it. She came to me because she knew we were roommates, that we had history. She offered me a deal. The deal was simple. Ivy would report on Lena's activities, provide access to her personal belongings for evidence collection, and help coordinate the gradual social isolation campaign among staff. In exchange, Anita provided financial incentives, bonuses disguised as performance rewards, a promise of career advancement, and most recently, approval for a transfer to the hotel's London property. "She paid you to destroy my life?" Lena whispered. "You had everything," Ivy replied, her voice hardening. "The promotion I deserved. Ravi's attention when he barely noticed me. Special treatment while the rest of us worked twice as hard. I had nothing. Now we're even." Bank records would later confirm substantial transfers to Ivy's account, always legitimized through the hotel's accounting system as special project compensation or retention bonuses. A new designer bag, weekend trips to luxury resorts, privileges normally reserved for management. But Ivy's confession wasn't motivated by guilt. It was a warning. "Anita isn't finished," she told Lena. "This was never just about exposing you or punishing Ravi. She's been planning something bigger from the beginning. And now she's cutting me out too." Ivy had overplayed her hand, attempting to blackmail Anita with her knowledge of the surveillance operation. The response was swift and definitive. Her promised London transfer cancelled, her position at the Palmyra Grand suddenly restructured, and clear indications that Dubai might become hostile territory for her very soon. "Whatever's coming next, it's worse than what we've seen," Ivy said. "Much worse." The destruction Anita orchestrated was methodical and comprehensive. Investigators would later piece together her systematic approach through electronic records, witness testimonies, and the paper trail of her machinations. First came the professional isolation. Key contacts in Ravi's network received anonymous tips about his inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Not enough to destroy him immediately, but sufficient to create doubt about his judgment. Longtime business associates suddenly became unavailable. Invitations to industry events mysteriously dried up. For Lena, the pressure intensified on multiple fronts. The original blackmailers, Rashid and his colleagues, suddenly received new, even more damaging footage from an anonymous source. Security access logs later revealed this came from Anita's private account. The demands escalated, with threats now extending to Lena's family in the Philippines. Most chilling was Anita's parallel effort to position herself as the hotel's savior when scandal inevitably broke. Meeting minutes from the hotel's ownership board show her raising concerns about management irregularities, without specifics. Financial reports were restructured to separate her investments from Ravi's management decisions. Legal documents prepared for various contingencies, including spousal misconduct clauses in their marriage contract, were updated and filed. "This wasn't impulsive revenge," explains forensic psychologist Dr. Rebecca Chin. "This was calculated destruction with a clear business objective." Anita wasn't just eliminating a husband's mistress. She was removing an obstacle to complete control of a valuable asset. By early October, the pressure on all parties had reached breaking point. Lena, isolated and desperate, had exhausted her savings paying blackmailers. Ravi, sensing his position eroding, became increasingly paranoid and erratic. And Rashid, emboldened by success, began making riskier demands. The final catalyst came when Rashid contacted Ravi directly, bypassing Lena entirely. Text messages recovered from Ravi's phone show the exchange. "Unknown. We need to meet. 100,000 dirhams or everything goes public tomorrow. All of it. Ravi. Who is this? Unknown. Someone with the full collection from room 713. Hotel conference room B. Midnight. Come alone or the videos go to your wife and the owners." Ravi's response, deleted but recovered by forensic experts. "I'll be there. This ends tonight." What Ravi didn't know was that Lena had been monitoring his messages using an app installed during their relationship. Her final diary entry read, "He's meeting someone tonight about the videos. He sounded strange when I called. Distant. Almost calm. Like he's made a decision. I know something bad is going to happen. I can feel it. I have to follow him. I have to know." That decision would lead both of them into a nightmare from which neither would emerge unscathed, and only one would survive. The old conference room in the Palmera Grand's West Wing was seldom used. Outdated compared to the hotel's newer meeting spaces, it was scheduled for renovation the following quarter. Its isolation made it perfect for a clandestine meeting. Just after midnight on October 12, 2022, security cameras captured Ravi Kapoor walking purposefully through the dimly lit service corridor. He wore casual clothes, unusual for a man typically impeccable in tailored suits. More unusual was the bulge visible beneath his light jacket. 3 minutes later, Rashid Al-Farsi entered from the opposite direction. Unlike Ravi, he appeared nervous, repeatedly checking over his shoulder. Neither man noticed the slim figure of Lena Reyes slipping in behind Rashid, ducking behind a service cart before finding a hiding place behind the heavy velvet curtains that lined the room's far wall. The conference room's layout was simple. A long marble-top table surrounded by 20 leather chairs. 3 marble steps led up to a small stage area where presenters would normally stand. The lighting was minimal, just emergency exit signs and the ambient glow from Dubai's skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. What happened in that room would later be reconstructed through multiple sources. Lena's testimony, partial security footage from a camera in the hallway, and most crucially, an audio recording captured accidentally by Rashid's phone, which had been set to record as a precaution. Forensic audio specialist Mira Hassan would later enhance this recording, eliminating background noise to reveal the fatal confrontation. Rashid, you came alone. Smart. Ravi, let's get this over with. You have something I want. I have something you want. Rashid, it's not that simple anymore. The price has changed. Ravi, we agreed on 100,000. Rashid, that was before I learned who else is interested in these videos. Ravi, what are you talking about? Rashid, your wife has expensive taste, Mr. Kapoor, not just in hotels. A pause of several seconds follows. Ravi, you've been in contact with my wife? Rashid, let's just say there are multiple bidders for what I have, but I'm giving you first option. Ravi, you think you can play us against each other? You're smarter than that. Rashid, smart enough to make copies. Smart enough to know what happens to people who cross you, or her. The audio captures footsteps, movement around the room, tension building. Ravi, what's your price? Rashid, 500,000. And a management position at your Bangkok property, with a contract. Laughter cold, dismissive. Ravi, you're delusional. Rashid, am I? I have videos of you with a staff member half your age. I have footage of your wife accessing the surveillance system. I have records of payments to create problems for both of you. This isn't just about an affair anymore. More movement. A chair scraping. Ravi, where are the copies? Rashid, safe. Payment first. Then I tell you. Ravi, show me what you have. Now. Rashid, you think I'm stupid enough to bring them here? Look, I don't want trouble. I just want what's fair. You people take everything, leave nothing for the rest of us. Consider this wealth redistribution. What happened next occurred in seconds. The recording captures quick footsteps, a scuffle, shouting. Rashid's voice rising, "Get your hands off me!" Then a thud, a sickening crack, and silence. From behind the curtain, Lena witnessed the fatal moment. Ravi had lunged forward, grabbing Rashid by the lapels. Rashid pulled away, stumbling backward toward the small stage. His heel caught on the first marble step. The fall was awkward, violent, his head striking the sharp marble edge of the second step. The sound of the impact haunted Lena's nightmares for months afterward. Not a crack but a wet thud, followed by absolute stillness. Blood spread quickly across the white marble, a growing crimson pool reflecting the city lights outside. Ravi stood frozen, staring at Rashid's motionless body, his expression shifting from rage to disbelief to terror. When Lena emerged from behind the curtain, Ravi didn't seem surprised, as if he'd known somehow she would be there. For several minutes, neither spoke. They simply stared at the body, at the blood, at the consequences now unavoidable. "Help me," Ravi finally whispered, not a command but a plea. "Is he?" Lena couldn't finish the question. Ravi knelt beside Rashid, checking for a pulse he knew wouldn't be there. "Yes." The psychology of accomplice behavior in the aftermath of unexpected violence reveals predictable patterns. The shock creates a strange intimacy between perpetrator and witness. Normal moral boundaries blur under extreme stress. The desire to escape consequences overwhelms rational thought. Lena would later describe those critical minutes as moving underwater. Everything slowed, dreamlike, surreal. She helped not out of love for Ravi, not even out of fear, but from a dissociative state where nothing seemed real. Their plan came together with grim efficiency. The late hour gave them advantage, skeleton staff, minimal security coverage. The laundry cart from the nearby linen closet provided transportation. Rashid's access card, taken from his pocket, granted them entry to service areas normally off-limits. Hotel security footage shows fragmented pieces of their journey. The cart pushed by Ravi through the East Service Corridor at 12:47 a.m. An elevator descending to the basement level at 12:52 a.m. Lena checking an empty corridor before Ravi follows at 12:58 a.m. What happened to Rashid's body remains one of the investigation's unresolved questions. The hotel's massive industrial laundry facility offers possibilities: large washing units, steam pressers, waste compactors. Some investigators theorize the hotel's waste disposal system, which connects to municipal services, provided a means of removing evidence. Whatever the method, by 1:30 a.m., security cameras show Ravi and Lena separating, returning to their respective locations. He to his off-site apartment, she to staff housing. Both believing they had escaped detection. Both devastatingly wrong. Rashid's absence wasn't immediately concerning to his co-workers. He had previously mentioned visiting family over the weekend. It wasn't until Tuesday, October 17th, when he missed an important inventory meeting, that questions began. His family in Pakistan, contacted by concerned friends, hadn't heard from him in days. His mother, growing increasingly worried, called his Dubai landline repeatedly. By Thursday, his elder brother filed a missing person report with Dubai police. Detective Saeed Al-Mahmood from Dubai Police's Criminal Investigation Department took the case. Missing persons among Dubai's vast expatriate workforce weren't uncommon. Most resolve themselves as visa overstays, unauthorized job changes, or personal crises. But something about Rashid's disappearance struck Al-Mahmood as unusual. The victim maintained regular contact with his family, sending money home weekly, Al-Mahmood noted in his initial report. His last bank transaction was a cash withdrawal of 5,000 dirhams the day before his disappearance. No passport activity. No social media updates. No credit card usage. Classic signs of foul play rather than voluntary disappearance. The investigation began methodically, interviews with Rashid's roommates, friends, and co-workers. Review of his phone records showed his last call was to Ravi Kapoor's office line at 10:17 p.m. on October 11th. When questioned, Ravi claimed it was about a routine maintenance issue in the presidential suite. Security footage review became central to the investigation. But here investigators encountered their first major obstacle: significant gaps in coverage. The West Wing conference area showed no activity that night because the cameras had been temporarily offline for maintenance. The service elevator used by Ravi and Lena had technical issues with its recording system. These convenient malfunctions raised immediate red flags for Detective Al-Mahmood. "One camera failure is coincidence," he remarked to his team. "Multiple failures along a specific path is sabotage." 5 days into the investigation, the case broke wide open with the delivery of a plain manila envelope to the Palmyra Grand's front desk. Addressed simply to Security Department, it contained a USB drive with a handwritten label, "Watch ME." The contents sent shockwaves through both the investigation team and hotel management. High-definition video showed Ravi and Lena moving what was clearly a body wrapped in hotel linens. The footage was shot from multiple angles, following their path from the conference room through service corridors to the basement level. Most damning was the clear shot of Rashid's face as they lifted him into the cart. Unmistakably dead, blood visible on his head and neck. The timestamps matched precisely with Rashid's disappearance. The footage quality was professional grade, noted digital forensics expert Tariq Nasser. Multiple camera angles, seamless editing, perfect lighting adjustment. This wasn't opportunistic surveillance. This was someone with access to the hotel's entire security infrastructure. The implications were clear. Someone had been watching everything. Someone had deliberately preserved evidence of the crime. Someone wanted Ravi and Lena exposed. The list of people with such comprehensive access to the hotel's security systems was extremely short. At the top of that list, Anita Kapoor. The investigation accelerated rapidly. Police sealed off the conference room, where luminol testing revealed extensive blood evidence despite thorough cleaning. Forensic teams discovered traces of Rashid's DNA in the service elevator and along the pathway taken by the laundry cart. Interviews with hotel staff shifted from information gathering to interrogation. Multiple employees reported tension between Ravi and Lena in recent weeks. Others mentioned Lena Kapoor's unusual interest in certain staff members, including her private meetings with Ivy Santos. As evidence mounted, Ravi and Lena's communications grew increasingly desperate. Text messages recovered from their phones show their alliance fracturing under pressure. Lena, police were asking about Rashid. About us. Ravi, deny everything. We never saw him that night. Lena, the cleaning staff know I helped you with the conference room that morning. Ravi, that was routine work. Nothing unusual. Lena, I'm scared, Ravi. People are watching me. Ravi, stay calm. Don't do anything stupid. Lena, what if I just tell them what happened? It was an accident. Ravi, if you say anything, I'll make sure you're deported with nothing. Your family will starve. Remember that. Hotel staff reported witnessing tense exchanges between them in service corridors. A housekeeping supervisor overheard Ravi threatening Lena in the staff break room. You're in this as deep as I am. Don't forget that. By October 25th, Detective Al-Mahmoud had enough evidence to bring both Ravi and Lena in for formal questioning. But before he could execute the warrants, events at the Palmyra Grand took a final, fatal turn, all orchestrated by the one person who had been controlling the game from the beginning. Ivy Santos had miscalculated badly. After months of serving as Anita's loyal informant, she believed she had become indispensable, a trusted ally rather than a disposable tool. This delusion led her to the riskiest gamble of her life. On the morning of October 24th, security cameras captured Ivy entering Anita's private office on the hotel's executive floor. She carried a manila folder and an expression of uncharacteristic confidence. The meeting lasted exactly 17 minutes. I need more than we agreed, Ivy began, placing screenshots of payments and text exchanges between herself and Anita on the desk. London isn't enough anymore. I want a management position and double the compensation we discussed. Anita's reaction was eerily calm. And why would I consider this adjustment? Because I've kept evidence. Every instruction you gave me about Lena, every request to access security footage, the payments coded as special projects. If anything happens to me, it all goes to the police and to Ravi. Anita studied Ivy for several long seconds before responding. I see. You've been very thorough. I learned from the best, Ivy replied, mistaking Anita's composure for acquiescence. This attempt at leveraging a power position against someone like Lena Kapoor demonstrated a fundamental misunderstanding of both power dynamics and personality types. The fatal error in any blackmail attempt is misreading your target, explains criminal psychologist Dr. Nathan Wells. Ivy saw Anita as another version of herself, someone who would prioritize self-preservation over all else. What she failed to recognize was that she was dealing with someone who viewed betrayal as an unforgivable sin, regardless of consequences. Ivy's destruction was swift and absolute. By that afternoon, her employment was terminated for gross misconduct, specifically unauthorized access to guest information and security systems. Her staff housing access card deactivated while she was still in the building, leaving her personal belongings effectively hostage. Her work visa sponsorship was canceled, triggering immediate illegal residency status. Her bank accounts, linked to the hotel's payroll system, were frozen pending investigation of financial irregularities. Foreign workers in Gulf countries exist in a precarious legal position, explains Fatima Nazir, an employment rights attorney. Your visa, housing, banking access, even your ability to remain in the country, all tied to your employer. When that relationship ends abruptly, especially with allegations of misconduct, you can find yourself completely stripped of basic rights within hours. By evening, Ivy was effectively homeless, penniless, and at risk of arrest if she remained in Dubai. The evidence she had carefully preserved against Anita mysteriously disappeared during the chaos of her eviction. Security footage would later show a maintenance worker entering her room during this time, one of Anita's trusted employees. Ivy's final communication was a desperate text message to Lena. She's coming for you next. Whatever you think she's capable of, it's worse. Get out now. Lena Reyes had reached her breaking point. The blackmail, the social isolation, Rashid's death, the investigation closing in. Each pressure had stripped away another layer of the quiet, compliant woman she had once been. What remained was someone with nothing left to lose. Using money borrowed from a sympathetic coworker, she purchased a small recording device from an electronics shop in the old city. On the evening of October 25th, she concealed it in her uniform pocket and requested a private meeting with Ravi in the one place she knew they wouldn't be interrupted. Room 713. "I need to know what happens next," she began once they were alone. "The police are asking questions. They know about Rashid." Ravi paced the room, checking his phone repeatedly. "I told you to deny everything. We never saw him that night. We know nothing. They have footage, Ravi. Someone sent them video of us moving his body." This revelation stopped him cold. "What? That's impossible." "It's true. And I need to understand. Did you know about the cameras in this room? Before we started meeting here?" His hesitation told her everything. "That's not relevant now." "It is to me," Lena pressed. "Did you know this room was under surveillance when you first brought me here?" The transcript of their conversation, later played in court, revealed the full extent of Ravi's manipulation. "Ravi, you're being naive, Lena. Of course I knew. This room has always been monitored. It's how we protect certain guests who might be compromised." "Lena, so you deliberately brought me to a room where we would be recorded?" "Ravi, I needed insurance. Do you have any idea how many staff make accusations against management? How many try to claim relationships for personal gain? I needed protection." "Lena, protection? You pursued me. You told me you loved me." Ravi, a laughing, "Come on, Lena. You're a smart girl. What did you think was happening here? You're a receptionist from nothing. I'm married to the hotel owner. This was never going to be a love story." As the conversation continued, Ravi's true nature emerged fully. His language revealed classic narcissistic patterns. No empathy for Lena's suffering, no remorse for Rashid's death, only concern for his own circumstances. Every statement repositioned himself as the victim rather than the perpetrator. "Lena, a man is dead because of us. Ravi, because of you. If you hadn't distracted me with all your drama, I would have handled him differently. Now I have to clean up your mess." "Lena, my mess? You pushed him. Ravi, after you made yourself a target for blackmail. After you involved me in your problems. Everything was manageable until you became so damn emotional about everything." The psychological pattern displayed in this exchange is textbook Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Ravi consistently repositioned himself as the victim of Lena's actions rather than acknowledging his own agency and responsibility. As Lena pushed for more admissions, Ravi grew increasingly threatening. "Let me make something very clear. If I go down for this, you're coming with me. Who do you think the police will believe? The hotel manager with an impeccable record? Or the desperate foreign worker who was sleeping her way to the top? One phone call from me and your family will never see another dirham from you again." Neither Ravi nor Lena heard the door to room 713 open. Anita Kapoor entered silently, her expression unreadable as she listened to her husband threatening his former lover. "You were always predictable, Ravi," she said finally, her voice cutting through the tension. "But I never thought you'd go as low as this." Both turned, frozen in shock. Anita stood in the doorway, elegant in a simple black dress, holding a leather portfolio and what appeared to be a small clutch purse. "Anita," Ravi recovered quickly. "This isn't what it looks like. I'm handling a staff disciplinary." "Stop." The single word, quietly delivered, silenced him instantly. "I've heard everything, just as I've seen everything for months. The affair was disappointing but expected. Your eighth, I believe, but murder, Ravi? Blackmail? Threatening a girl who could be your daughter." Anita walked calmly to the center of the room, placing her portfolio on the bed. "Divorce papers, already filed this morning, and transfer documents for your ownership shares in the hotel. Sign them now, and this recording doesn't go to the police." She turned to Lena. "Yes, I know about your little device. Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate that? What happened next would be reconstructed through forensic evidence, partial security footage from the hallway, and conflicting testimony. The gun appeared suddenly, drawn either from Anita's purse or Ravi's jacket, depending on which version you believe. Words were exchanged that no recording captured. A single gunshot echoed through the executive floor of the Palmyra Grand Hotel at 9:47 p.m. First responders found Ravi Kapoor dead from a gunshot wound to the chest. The weapon was found on the floor between the three individuals present: Anita, Lena, and Ravi's body. Ballistic tests confirmed the fatal bullet came from the recovered weapon, a 9mm Beretta registered to Anita Kapoor. Gunshot residue was found on all three individuals' hands. Blood spatter analysis was inconclusive due to the close proximity of all parties at the time of discharge. Most significantly, the hotel's extensive security camera system experienced a complete failure in the executive wing during the exact 9-minute window surrounding the shooting. When systems came back online, the first frame captured showed Anita calmly using the house phone to report, "There's been an accident in room 713. Send security immediately." The forensic evidence in this case is remarkably ambiguous, explains criminalist Dr. Farah Nurani. The residue pattern is consistent with multiple scenarios: Anita firing the weapon, Ravi attempting to use it before losing control, or even Lena intervening in a struggle. The blood spatter indicates close-range discharge, but doesn't definitively identify the shooter. The ensuing investigation would encounter numerous obstacles. Key evidence, including Lena's recording device, mysteriously disappeared from police custody. Witness statements from hotel staff changed between initial interviews and formal depositions. The authorized search of Anita's private office found nothing incriminating, as if materials had been removed in anticipation. Most tellingly, the investigation itself seemed to lose momentum as it progressed. Detective Al-Mahmoud was reassigned to another case 1 week after the shooting. His replacement showed notably less interest in pursuing certain leads, particularly those involving Anita's potential foreknowledge of events. The interference was obvious but untraceable, a former investigator revealed anonymously. Suddenly, search warrants were delayed. Requests for financial records were denied on technical grounds. Witnesses became unavailable. You have to understand, the Kapoor family has connections throughout Dubai's business and government sectors. This wasn't just about a hotel manager's death anymore. Public records reveal Anita's extensive network within Dubai's elite circles: charitable board positions with the wives of government ministers, joint venture partnerships with ruling family investment vehicles, close relationships with senior police officials through hotel security collaborations. By December 2022, the investigation had effectively stalled. The official conclusion listed the death as homicide during an altercation, perpetrator undetermined. Ravi Kapoor was buried with the dignified ceremony befitting his position, his transgressions carefully erased from the public narrative. His death was attributed to a tragic security incident. For those who orchestrated events and those caught in their wake, the aftermath would bring vastly different fates, some escaping all consequences, others paying prices far beyond what justice might demand, and some disappearing entirely from a story they never chose to enter. Disappearing in the digital age requires resources, planning, and usually assistance, notes identity security expert James Morales. Passport changes, digital footprint erasure, financial trails obscured. It's complex work. Someone with Lena's background and limited means couldn't accomplish this alone. She had help from someone with significant resources. The question remains: who orchestrated Lena's vanishing act, and why? Was it protection or silencing? Salvation or elimination? The answer may lie with the other key players in this tragic drama. Ivy Santos was located by our investigative team at the Desert Palms Inn, a 2-star airport hotel in Abu Dhabi. After her abrupt dismissal from the Palmyra Grand, she spent months fighting deportation through legal aid services. Eventually, she secured a position significantly below her qualifications: front desk supervisor at a budget property catering to transit passengers. "You want to know what happened? I became expendable," Ivy stated in our exclusive interview. her once confident demeanor replaced by bitter resignation. I was just a tool for Anita. When I stopped being useful, she discarded me. Just like she discarded everyone else. Her account of events has changed substantially since her initial police statements. Where she once denied any knowledge of surveillance or blackmail activities, she now claims extensive awareness of Anita's operations. Anita was collecting evidence against Ravi for years, not just the affair with Lena, but financial improprieties, side deals with suppliers. She needed total control of the hotel, and Ravi was an obstacle. Lena was just collateral damage. Yet when pressed for specifics or evidence, Ivy becomes evasive. Her timeline contradicts established facts. Her claims about Anita's direct involvement lack supporting documentation. Most tellingly, her statements about Lena shift between victim blaming and grudging sympathy. Lena wasn't innocent in all this. She made her choices, Ivy insists. Then, moments later, but nobody deserves what happened to her. Nobody should be used like that. The psychological dynamics at play in Ivy's behavior reflect both perpetrator and victim mentalities. Her initial betrayal of Lena stemmed from jealousy and wounded pride, emotions Anita expertly exploited. Yet her subsequent treatment by Anita mirrors exactly what she helped inflict on her former friend. Ivy experienced what psychologists call karmic justice, explains Dr. Elena Fernandez. The very mechanism she participated in, using vulnerability for manipulation, was turned against her. This creates a complex psychological state where she simultaneously feels victimized while struggling with guilt for her own actions. Today, Ivy lives in a perpetual state of insecurity, her visa tied to her current employment, her reputation in the industry tarnished, her future prospects limited. When asked if she regrets her role in the events at the Palmyra Grand, she pauses before answering. I regret trusting Anita. I regret thinking I was special. I don't regret everything else. Some people deserve what happens to them. Anita Kapoor emerged from scandal not merely unscathed but ascendant. Following Ravi's death, the official narrative positioned her as the grieving widow rebuilding her late husband's legacy. Within 6 months, she had consolidated complete control of the Palmera Grand and launched an aggressive expansion plan. Financial records reveal the extent of her improved position. Life insurance policies on Ravi paid out approximately $4.7 million. His ownership stakes in 3 additional hotel properties transferred to her under their marriage contract. Most significantly, foreign investors who had partnered with Ravi now dealt exclusively with Anita, on more favorable terms for her interests. The Palmera Grand Hotel Group has expanded by 37% since Mrs. Kapoor assumed sole leadership, notes hospitality industry analyst Sarah Chun. 2 new properties in Saudi Arabia, management contracts in Bahrain and Qatar. She's leveraged tragedy into empire building with remarkable efficiency. Anita's public image underwent careful rehabilitation through strategic philanthropy. The Kapoor Foundation for Hospitality Education now provides scholarships to young women from South and Southeast Asia. Ironically, women much like Lena. Her public appearances project dignified resilience rather than ambitious calculation. I've learned that life can change in an instant, she told Dubai Business Monthly in her only interview addressing personal matters. My focus now is building something meaningful from loss. Ravi would have wanted that. Was Anita the ultimate puppet master behind the events that unfolded at the Palmera Grand? Circumstantial evidence points strongly in that direction. Her access to surveillance systems, her methodical isolation of both Ravi and Lena, her careful positioning before the final confrontation. Yet no direct evidence links her to Rashid's death, the blackmail operation, or the fatal shooting in room 713. Her alibi for key moments remains unimpeachable. Her digital footprints have been scrubbed with professional thoroughness. Even the financial trails that might connect her to Lena's disappearance have been obscured through complex offshore structures. Some investigations reach a point where evidence and influence achieve perfect balance, observes retired detective Ibrahim Nawaz, where what can be proven and what powerful people will allow to be proven reach equilibrium. The Palmera Grand case has all the hallmarks of this stalemate. Room 713 at the Palmera Grand reopened to guests in January 2023 after extensive renovation. The marble steps where Rashid fell were replaced. New furniture eliminated any trace of the room's dark history. Even the room number was briefly changed to 715 before reverting several months later. Yet something changed in the room's atmosphere. Housekeeping staff report unusual phenomena. Electronic keycards that malfunction only for this room. Temperature fluctuations that engineering cannot explain. The persistent scent of a particular cologne that no guest has worn. "I won't clean that room alone," confides a housekeeper who requested anonymity. Sometimes you hear someone breathing when nobody's there. Sometimes the shower turns on by itself. Once I saw a handprint appear on the mirror. From the inside. Guest complaints about room 713 have increased substantially. The front desk maintains a private log of incidents. Unexplained sounds, personal items rearranged, vivid nightmares reported by otherwise balanced individuals. One guest described waking to find a young Asian woman standing at the foot of the bed, only to vanish when he switched on the light. More pragmatic observers point to the room's electrical issues. Lights that flicker, air conditioning that cycles erratically, the TV that turns on unprompted during early morning hours. Maintenance records show room 713 requires service calls at 3 times the rate of other rooms in its category. The front desk has an unofficial policy now, reveals a current employee. "We don't assign room 713 to families with children, pregnant women, or elderly guests. If someone specifically requests it, we try to upsell them to a suite instead. Management pretends nothing's wrong, but everyone knows." As our investigation concludes, 3 central questions remain unanswered. Who actually killed Ravi Kapoor? The forensic evidence remains frustratingly ambiguous. The gun belonged to Anita, but both Lena and Ravi had residue on their hands. The trajectory could support any of the 3 as shooter. The missing security footage from those crucial minutes ensures the truth may never be known. What happened to Rashid's body? Despite extensive searches of the hotel's waste disposal systems and surrounding areas, no trace of his remains has ever been found. The industrial facilities in the Palmyra Grand's basement provide multiple possibilities, none conclusively proven. Where is Lena Reyes now? Is she living quietly under a new identity, financially secured by either conscience money or blackmail payments? Or did she meet a darker fate, her family's silence purchased to maintain the illusion of her escape? Cases like this remain unsolved for 3 main reasons, explains criminologist Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayez. First, the power differential between victims and perpetrators creates barriers to justice. Second, the transnational nature of the crime complicates jurisdiction and evidence gathering. Third, the resources available to certain parties allow for obstruction on a scale law enforcement cannot overcome. The human cost behind these unanswered questions is substantial. Rashid's family in Pakistan continues seeking closure, their appeals for information largely ignored by authorities. Lena's family lives in an uncomfortable purgatory, newfound comfort purchased at the cost of truth. And dozens of hotel staff carry the burden of what they witnessed, suspected, or chose to ignore. Tonight, the Palmyra Grand Hotel continues operations as one of Dubai's premier luxury destinations. Its marble floors still gleam under crystal chandeliers. Staff still attend to every guest need with practiced smiles. The official record of what happened within its walls has been sanitized, minimized, and finally erased. But in room 713, a different reality persists. On quiet nights, housekeeping staff report hearing muffled conversations through the door, a man and woman arguing in hushed tones. Engineering notes that no matter how many times they replace the light fixture, it continues to flicker in patterns that almost suggest Morse code. And guests sometimes wake at precisely 9:47 p.m., feeling a pressure on their chest as if someone is sitting there, watching them sleep. The true crime at the heart of the Palmera Grand story goes beyond the deaths of Rashid and Ravi. It encompasses the exploitation of vulnerable workers, the power imbalances that enable abuse, and the systems that protect wealth and privilege from consequences. For every Lena Reyes who disappears, thousands of other migrant workers remain trapped in similar dynamics. Their legal status dependent on employers, their economic future tied to compliance, their humanity reduced to their utility. As our investigation closes, we're left with the haunting image of the Palmyra Grand at night, its windows illuminating the Dubai skyline like a palace of light and luxury. On the 7th floor, room 713 stands dark except for the occasional unexplained flicker. And at the front desk, a new receptionist checks in guests with a practiced smile, unaware of the ghosts that inhabit not just one room, but an entire system built on silence, power, and the disposability of those who serve. The wealthy and powerful may believe their secrets die with those they silence. But some stories refuse to remain buried. Some truths demand to be heard. And sometimes, justice arrives in unexpected ways, through voices that can no longer be silenced.